morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWAA Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Mickelson, and for those of you not familiar with me, I am a romance book author and an advocate for causes such as cancer, autism, and lupus awareness. You can find my books on Amazon.com and other online retailers, and you can follow me on most social media platforms, including X.com at Christy Books. Tonight, I'm joined by a few wonderful people, one of them being my co-host, Billy Dees. Billy, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. So wonderful to be here. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Billy. And our special guest tonight is two very beautiful women from the music duo, the Ruminators, Jill and Patty. Jill and Patty, how are you?
Good.
We're good.
Good.
We're really happy to be here and
Absolutely.
also there.
Well, ladies, before we actually get into your interview, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little more about yourselves?
Should we talk at the same time or should we just take turns?
You know what? Let's take turns. Let's start with Jill. Jill, how are you?
I'm good. We're the Ruminators with Patty Rothberg. Patty and I have put out 2 EPs, and we've been friends for like 25 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
A long time. And so we've been just writing a lot of alternative indie music together, recording and putting some music out. And we also perform live locally, and hopefully we'll be touring soon.
Wonderful. And Patty, tell us a little more about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was actually very interested in the fact that you write romance novels.
Oh, we're going to have to hook up.
Yeah. I actually graduated from Parsons, and I thought that I was going to be a professional illustrator. And then through a series of events, I ended up doing music. It was actually walking in the tunnel between the 1 and the 9 and the F and the L, blah, blah, blah. That's why that got shortened and became between the 1 and the 9. So both Jill and I have had music careers separate of each other. Jill went to school in Chicago, and I had no intentions of becoming a professional musician. In other words, making any money. And I fulfilled that very easily. No problem there. No, but I've had many touring bands performing my own original music, and now Jill and I have teamed up, and we're writing just very funny, true, free-form songs about our experiences, not just in the music business, but just in life. And we harmonize so well together.
I love that, ladies. Everything. I want to actually know, how did you both get a love for music? Let's start with Patty. How did you fall in love with music?
I took piano lessons with my family ever since I was 3 years old. They had an upright piano in the house, and I took to it right away. I started playing it. I'm like, hey, if you play this, it sounds like a song. And, I've just been playing by ear and by instinct ever since then. I at age 12, I picked up a guitar, and when it was time to go to college, I went to Paris. Jill's also been to Paris. She's very independent as far as going places by herself. I'm kind of like, wow, you went to Paris alone? Then I kind of think about it. I realized that I also kind of went to Paris.
You went there.
Yeah, but I went. I had a curriculum. I had a friend with me to go on the plane with, and I brought my whole point is that I brought my guitar on a whim at the very last minute. I could barely play at that age. I was 18. I could play some chords, and I hadn't written any songs yet. But then when I was in Paris, I really started to discover songwriting.
I love that. In fact, my dream is to do a book signing in Paris. I actually had it all set up, and then some things happened in my life to where I couldn't go. So that's on the back burner for now, but I guarantee you I'm going to get there. That's one of my dreams. So you guys are an inspiration. You're an inspiration.
Maybe we'll meet there.
Absolutely. Let's do it, ladies. Jill, how did you get a love for music?
The first time I ever performed was, I think I was in 4th grade, and I performed in front of like the entire auditorium at school.
We're writing a song about a funny thing that happened in fourth grade.
Kumbaya. And I think I sang Kumbaya, and then I was like, wow, that was pretty cool to sing in front of like a bunch of people and for them to be listening to me. I think in high school, it was a very musical school, so we were in a lot of performances. Like the whole school was involved in singing classical music and also musicals, and we would do that every year in high school. And I started to play guitar probably when I was like 10 or 11, and a teacher told me I would never play the guitar, so I put it away. And then years later, I was like, I am going to play the guitar. So of course, I picked the hardest song. I picked a Police song, and I was able to do it. I was able to figure out how to play a Police song on my guitar, and so I started taking lessons from various people. But my love for music, is pretty young, actually. I mean, I remember I'm sort of my youth was in the 60s and the 70s. So I love different kinds of music at different times in my life. First it was like Anne Margaret or Free to Be You and Me, and then I really didn't like singing classical music, although I love classical music. But I wanted to break free of that, so I did more rock, probably in high school or college.
I absolutely love that. In fact, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s are my favorite time frames of music. I grew up listening to Elvis Presley with my parents and, the Bee Gees and, groups like that, B-52s, Buddy Holly. I can name a whole list of people here, but I actually love that genre of music. So,
how do you actually met the B-52s? You opened up for them, right?
I did once, and it was amazing. And they were all the nicest people in the world. It was in Terrytown, and I was their opening act, and it was just amazing.
Sounds wonderful. I actually heard that you have actually opened too for another favorite band of mine, Garbage.
Oh yeah, that's true. I did a bunch of radio festivals where you didn't necessarily get to see any of the acts that you wanted to see because you were too busy like preparing your own thing. Or there was this one time when we had to, like, our truck broke down, so we had to bring everything in some nice cab driver let us go in what do you call the front of I forget what you call that, the carriage or the thing. But the whole band piled into the front part of this truck and crossed the Canadian border, and we played opening for Candlebox. But the band, what was the band you said you liked? I forgot.
Garbage.
Yeah, so I ended up at a table signing my first record, and Shirley Manson was just a few feet away signing her record. So it was almost like I didn't exactly open for Garbage. We played on the same festival bill, and then we ended up next to each other. I don't know if she remembers me, but I certainly remember her. So.
Well, ladies, again, it's a pleasure. It's fun for me to listen to how people got into music and other areas of the entertainment world. So I'm enjoying this conversation so far.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Really quick, I'm curious. What is your music writing process like? I know as authors we have our own little process, but how do you guys come up with your songs? Like how do you get it started? Tell us the process.
Well, we usually have some sort of conversation. We're talking.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, we're like talking about various things. And then they were like, wow, that would be a really good idea for a song. And then we start working it out. So we'll start coming up with lyrics and music. And then we'll either do it in one shot or we might break it up into two sessions. And we have like, we've put out 2 EPs, but we actually have like maybe 10 to 15 songs ideas at various phases.
So it is kind of a lot like being an author. For me, I get the idea somebody could come in the room and say one word, and that one word's like, I can make a book out of this. And I kind of go through the process and plot it all out. Is that kind of what you do then? You have a conversation and you just kind of throw those ideas out there?
Absolutely. In fact, one time I was leaving Jill's apartment. We were just having some fun, and I'm waiting for the bus. and we were talking about a guy in Paris. This is an actual thing that happened. It's so funny. I mean, I was probably about 18 years old, and I had some red shoes on.
Oh.
And he was like, "On ne porte pas les chaussures rouges en Paris." He's like, "You will not wear red shoes in Paris."
Oh.
So he bought me a pair of shoes, some black shoes to wear. It was a little strange. So we wrote a song right there at the bus stop, and it's coming someday.
Yeah, it's kind of a rap
It's in
song.
process.
It's like a rap song about how you won't wear red shoes next to me.
You won't wear red shoes in Paris. Like, we'll just make up little raps, and then sometimes we want it to be conversational, literally, like not exactly rap, but like kind of talk sing. And then
Yes.
sometimes we'll like grab an instrument and flesh it out and give it a melody, work harder on it or whatever. So
Absolutely. I kind of love this. I love your guys' process. Again, it's a lot like mine. One day my son came in the room and he was trying to learn Spanish. I mean, and he's autistic, and he came in and he's all, Amarita. I'm all, what is Amarita, son? He's all, Amarita. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to say something. I'm all, wait a minute. We can make it a book, and we could say Amarita Cortez, a mail order bride. And I just started going off. Yeah, I started going off about a whole bunch of stuff. So I see what you guys are saying. You kind of come up with things on the fly and just from an idea. So that's cool. That's cool, ladies.
No, thank
Real-
you.
Amarita.
Amarita Cortez. Really quick, I'm going to pass to Billy and see if he has anything that he would like to pipe in before I continue on. Billy, go right ahead.
Well, it sounds like you two will always have Paris. So that's a good thing.
True.
I've noticed especially when I speak to musical folks, that seems to be a talent that comes early. That and math always seems to come very early. You guys mentioned learning the piano early, doing it in grade school, and so on and so forth. So you've been listening to music a long time, and I'm kind of like from the technical background. First of all, let's start with your side, how the music is made. I'm guessing at one time or another you guys used tape, and now you're probably in the digital world. It seems like that's when I talk to creative types in music, they seem that that's a two-edged sword, because let's say back in the day of the Beatles, they actually had to create sounds, the piano sounds that are there at the end where that boom, and they did a lot of acoustic things. And that was part of their creativity. Now it seems like the music has become very synthetic. So you have this, on the one hand, you have this really great tool and some of the new technologies that makes creating easier. But on the other hand, the technology for a lot of artists has become the center of what they're doing. So how does, as you've gone through the years, you started with tape and now we're up to, the digital DAWs and all those other kinds of things. How has that evolution worked for you guys?
Well, when we start, like if we have a song that we're starting to build, or like, I'll record it on my memo on my phone, and then we'll go back to it later on as we're fleshing it out, and it'll be acoustically based. So Patty will play the acoustic guitar, I'll play the bass, and then after we finish the song and start singing it and playing it, and we decide, okay, we're going to do an EP. So then Patty starts recording it at her house, and she adds some just magic to our songs. Incredible, because she's like multi-instrumental and applies that through the recording.
Do you remember 8-track or no?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, we're like not quite 10 years apart, but I love all the same music that she does. And, don't worry about who's younger. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I remember my grandmother with her long red nails pressing a 8-track into her Buick of Barbra Streisand.
Awesome.
Yes.
It's just like cemented into my head as this really cool, weird image. And so I feel like I've seen every kind of media all the way up to 1997 when Napster was invented.
Oh, yeah.
So, and also the cell phones.
Yes.
I remember dial-up too.
Oh, I hated that
the
noise.
Little AOL
Yes.
guy, right? And you're talking to someone who I can figure. I'm kind of like the Brian Jones of the, dare I say, group, in the sense that I will take anything and turn it into a musical instrument, or give
Yeah.
me a musical instrument and I'll figure out how to play it my way, and we will just come up with something together. Jill is also very musical. I'm sorry. Jill will invent, she's great with like instant harmonies. I think one time I was like in the middle of creating a guitar track, and I said, you know what? I bet Jill could probably play this. So I just handed her bass. I'm like, here, just play this. It's like the bottom 4 strings of it. She had the bass mastered in 10 seconds.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And she's been
Interesting.
playing bass ever. Yes.
I
Don't be modest.
I actually prefer playing the bass over the guitar, and I'm new to it, Patty, because we were playing, and then she suggested I play the bass, and at first I was pretty intimidated, but I actually like playing it more than guitar, and I can harmonize. I like the fact that I can harmonize the bass with the guitar and the vocals, so it's really fun,
Mm-hmm. I'll ask you on the other end, as far as the audience is concerned. Now, you mentioned 8 tracks; those were a continuous loop format. And interestingly, I never thought those were a good format on day one. People say, well, that's an old, it wasn't, I don't care if it was old, it was bad on day one. There was other technologies at the time that were available that were better. Cassettes are essentially a miniature reel-to-reel. And cassettes always got a bad rap because people always bought the cheapest tape, at the checkout line. They buy the ones that were 99 cents. If you bought the good formulations, they actually sounded very good. A lot of people still say records sound better than a lot of the digital formats. However, I will say back in the 70s and 80s, people were much more in tune to how bands were recorded, how, what instrumentation that were used, how the instruments were placed. It was a big deal for the audience to be aware of that. And there was a social aspect of music. People listened to music in their living room and so forth. Now everything comes out of the phone essentially the same. I mean, there's different brands of phones, but the technology that's governed inside them is pretty much the same. And people have their little tiny earbuds in, and they're in their own little world. Everybody's in.
I don't like that.
Okay,
You're just uncomfortable. That's all.
Yeah. So, but the social aspect of it, the way people used to listen to, let's say, Bob Dylan or somebody like that, it's become a very in your ear personal thing. I went on a trip not too long ago in a car, and I thought that everybody would be talk, and then all 3 of them were in the back, in their own little world, all listening. And I just found that very odd. How does that affect you as creators when you know that music has really changed in the way that it's listened to?
I mean,
I could go on and on this.
When we recorded, I mean, I recorded before, but I think Patty, I've had the most fun recording because we'll really get into the music or harmonies, or she'll come up with something to add. She plays the piano and she can add vocals. She'll do all sorts of harmonies with herself and with us or with me. And so she'll add instruments, and then also, even though they're not actual instruments, it does start with our instruments, although the recording part is more modern. But I think initially, we're very thoughtful about what, or at least Patty is, about what she wants to add because she's producing it.
Sure. Patty, do you want to go? You
Yeah,
said you had a lot to say.
I do. I have so much to say, but I'm going to try to condense it. For one thing, I think that it absolutely reflects the way people listen to music. For example, you used to have a party and everybody would come in, you'd be eating, maybe even dancing, God forbid. I'm not a great dancer, but it doesn't matter. So you put on a record, or you put on what people now would call a playlist, but the radio, or even just any kind of music. Everyone is listening to the same thing at the same time.
Correct.
And it affects us all at one time. Now we're all so isolated from each other. It's like we all find the same thing at the same time because Spotify dictates what's popular. Or I listen to Z100. Hi, guys. No, I am not sponsored by anybody right now but myself and maybe Jill. The spot like Z100 plays the same song over and over and over. Now, of course, back when maybe I'd say in the 80s, they had certain formats that also controlled what you do. I feel like the limitation of a certain technology, like I envy you. Your name is Bob, right?
It's
Billy.
Bill. It's
Billy!
okay.
See? I didn't even get that right. I'm sorry, Billy.
That's all right.
But back to you, Billy. I'm very influenced and amazed by technology because you have a skill that other people they wish they knew anything about. They don't know that 8 tracks are bad. They just maybe think, oh, they're outmoded, or the record companies wanted to make money, so they invented cassettes. Ooh, and then they invented vinyl, and haha, we're gonna send you to like in every single biopic, they show you the big studio. It's like roll tape, and I've done it all. I don't mean I've done it all, but I've recorded on 2-inch tape, quantity, the best in the United States and beyond.
It still sounds awesome. Go ahead.
It does sound great. It's very heavy. You think about the limitations. Let's go to the Beatles, for example. George Martin, Les Paul invented sound on sound. We'll have to give him credit for that. But
Absolutely.
Then George Martin with the Beatles, they only had 8 tracks. So, and then you see certain movies where, like, you mentioned Elvis, and I love Elvis too. Who doesn't love Elvis? Anyway,
right?
I got to be wary of someone who doesn't like Elvis, at least like him. But, they say, do it again, Elvis, do it again. And each track is exactly the same, pretty much.
Yeah.
So these poor performers were doing, and now you can just fix it. Just put auto-tune on it, or, you don't have to have any pitch.
Yes.
You don't have to understand what pitch even is. All you have to do is, and you've probably seen the ads on TikTok or whatever, you can sing poorly into a microphone, like a diamond in the sky, no melody at all. Just sing the lyrics, and then it'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I know that's a mouthful, but so Jill and I luckily understand, we've paid our dues. We know how to play and write a song with an instrument and sing in tune. She's harmonized with some famous people. I've done background vocals that were used in a big way or whatever. So, we understand that there is a craft to it. Now, what I'm jealous of Billy about is that he knows how to actually put this sound through a thing and make it sound like us talking. I mean, like that blows my mind. I could never do what you do. I could probably never write a romance novel, but I could illustrate the cover.
Girl, we're gonna have to talk.
We'll need to talk after the show.
Yes.
But I guess what my point is that we're all isolated by today's technology. Yeah. And yet somebody's trying to get us to listen to the same thing.
Although, like Patty and I, just over the years, we take road trips. So they're, like in her car, like she'll have certain CDs that we hit every time we do a road trip. Like there's always Duran Duran, which is the sacred music.
We just saw them in Madison Square Garden. We love you.
So there's like Ordinary World, Save a Prayer, and like certain songs, like certain like CDs we'll listen to, and it's part of the driving and the trip, Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'll say this about the history. I mean, you had touched on some of certainly Elvis. Elvis had a little bit more harder time with this than the Beatles did. But during the 1950s in particular, a lot of the record executives did not understand, nor did they appreciate contemporary music. So the best technicians and the best studio time went to like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and things. And actually, if you listen to some Dean Martin remasters, his voice sounds incredibly good. But some of the early rock and roll tunes were recorded very crudely, like the band is over there and they just stick a microphone in that direction. It was actually that crude. So we've come a long way with how we consider recording sound, and it sounds to me like you guys are taking full advantage of it. So I'll hand it back to Christy, and I got the nerd portion out of the way.
I love it. I love nerds. We love you because without you, you would not know who we were.
That's absolutely true. I mean, Billy, there's always a little room in my life for a nerd. So thank you for being here for us.
Well, thank you.
The babysitter. That's a long story.
Ladies, I'm curious, what has been the most rewarding part of your careers so far? Starting with Jill, what has been the most rewarding part of your career?
Musical career.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I also take photos. I've had a photo in the Museum of the City of New York.
Oh.
And then also I did some music. I was on an album that Suzanne Vega produced and was involved in, and also I've been on Mark Maron. They played a few of my songs on his podcast. So, I mean, performing with Patty is definitely one of the most satisfying because, like, harmonizing, getting it right. I know when we played this one club, it was like being in a castle or something. And we weren't actually in a castle, but it was the most beautiful place. It was our first gig there, and it was just awe-inspiring. And I think that was great. And also, as we get more in sync with each other, I think that also feels really good.
Absolutely. Patty, what has been your most rewarding part of your musical career?
Well, aside from trying to remember the castle, where was the castle?
No, I'm saying it was at Rockwood too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, we performed in this beautiful venue, which is no longer supporting music. I don't know why, but it looked like the theater where the Muppets perform. They had those same kind of curtains and balconies, and it was just music was important. So Absolutely. I guess that's why we're no longer playing in a castle too often. But I think my favorite part I love working with Jill because we just have so much fun and we are so like-minded and just joke about everything. Our band is called the Ruminators for a reason because we're always just neurotically sort of discussing our lives, like what's going on. And it just makes sense. And my favorite part of creating is writing the song. Like if I write a song by myself, like it's like you said, I forget the word. It was a Spanish word that your son said.
Oh, amarita,
right?
Amarita,
okay, so,
yeah.
Amarita. And like for me, the song is written already as a concept. Now, then the next thing I do is I have to put a word to it. And in your case, it's Amarita. Okay. And then after I have that, the rest is just fleshing it out. It's almost like transcribing it into another language. And that language in this case is English, but I mean, we make lots of jokes and puns, dad jokes. We neither of us are dads, but we're good at dad jokes and puns and also synchronicity. So we just have so much fun, like exploring new songs, new props. We have props that we use.
Oh,
visual props for different songs, and
we're in the middle of writing a song now. The song that we're writing, and then I sort of remember playing the tuba in 4th grade, and then Patty remembers playing the flute
in 4th grade also, because they just hand you an instrument. They don't like let you choose necessarily.
But we've been incorporating like story or sort of talking in the middle of a song too.
Right. There's usually a conversation in the middle of the song where we break and we start talking.
I love it, ladies. I love it. On the same note, though, what has been your struggles throughout the career? Every creative has some kind of struggle. So, what has been your guys' struggles?
The first thing that comes to mind that is a struggle is technical difficulties. Like, I wish I had my own personal Billy in my pocket that'd be like, plug the guitar in. You forgot to put a fresh battery, or, whatever it is. It's usually something very simple. It's not something like, you played the wrong chord, or, I think of it like an Oreo. Like the double stuff, we can handle the double stuff, no problem. But the Oreo is what holds the thing together, and that's how the cookie crumbles, and it crumbles every time, and we're never sure why, right? I mean, I love metaphors, but I love cookies too.
Girl, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Jill, what do you think has been your biggest struggle throughout your musical career?
I mean, maybe, because I do a lot of the promotion and I get us on radio shows. Yes.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you.
But and then trying to book gigs and stuff. So, sometimes like the disappointment, but I do have like the disappointment of not getting a gig, not getting on a certain radio program, but at the same time I sort of have a different philosophy. It's almost like a Zen philosophy, like just keep throwing stuff out there and then a certain amount will come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I have one more question, then I'll pass back to Bill and see if he has anything before we do our final laps into the episode here. But a lot of people in the entertainment world, no matter if you're doing music or you're an author or an actor or model, anything like that, sometimes they struggle with mental depression or any kind of mental struggles due to the new fame and the new popularity. Have you ladies ever had to deal with anything like that? And if so, what helped you get through that? That's a difficult one, I know.
I mean, I don't know that like emotional issues have interfered. I know they have not necessarily interfered with. I think you can have compassion for resonating with sadness or anxiety, and then funneling that within a song, and also it's a way of reaching out to people that are also suffering or experience something similar. I think through music, it can be very soothing. And so,
Absolutely.
It soothes, I listen to certain songs for mood lifting or whatever. And like, I remember just listening to Pink Floyd when I was down, like for like 4 hours,
Absolutely.
Which is kind of a strange way of doing it because Pink Floyd is not particularly uplifting.
Yeah.
But yet, it's like something that's like resonating with you. So if you hear somebody else and all these beautiful orchestrations and also the familiarity of it, it makes you feel at home. It makes you feel like, I know the song, I know what's coming next, and it's soothing. So it's kind of like therapy, but it is, you wouldn't necessarily want to put on an Elvis record and dance if you were in a bad mood.
Yeah, I mean, I think of like to sort of rev up, I might listen to the Police or Led Zeppelin, or like I might listen to or like Annie Lennox, like certain people at certain times at certain moods that sort of either go with or lift me up.
Absolutely. Now, with the fame and popularity that come along with being an entertainer, do you guys ever like want to pull your hair out from the stress? Like, how do you handle the actual stress of it all? Do you just keep going, or do you have that moment in time where you're just like, okay, I need a few minutes to be me? And do you just take a little time off? How do you handle it?
I mean, I think you've experienced more like popularity and being in the limelight,
Well, okay. First of all, the green room. I think of the green room, I call it the avocado room, because when I was like at my biggest or whatever, I had a label deal with EMI. And so I was sometimes put on big shows. And there'd be like the sort of ochre room, and that would be my room. But it would be filled with, all the beer you can drink, and everyone in my band would eat everything. They would eat everything, just blah, 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 beer, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Never even think about it. And I'm like, I have so much pressure on me because I'm the opening act and like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you are so excited to see Duran Duran, you might think, oh, I hope there's not an opening act, like unless they're great and in that case, it would have been Nile Rodgers. So of course I would have been really excited to see. But like, the opening act is like, I hope they shut up soon so we can see the band we came for. So I had a lot of pressure. But
Yes.
So I always ordered an avocado, a knife, and a spoon. And I always got it. So, like, for example, Van Halen ordered the famous light brown M&Ms. And they did it because they wanted to make sure that their tech rider was red. Right. So
Absolutely.
if they had some kind of weird M&M party mix, they would know that they need to examine that more. So I'm not going to name names, except that Chapel Roan is on tonight at Saturday Night Live. And I'm really looking forward to it because I feel so much like I relate to her, like the same way that Justin Timberlake looked after Billie Eilish and said, oh, I wish I could like shield you from this crap that I dealt with. Like I'm listening to all the stuff that they're, like, well, people are going to ask you about, this question, Chapel. So you better have a good answer and, you better vote for this person and have this opinion or else blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, she's just getting started, really. I mean, so like leave her alone. And I was put on a very big tour with some very big ego people. And at that time, they were not on the way up. I'll just say that. They each had their own like heroin doctor and they were not happy. Okay, but I didn't really know that at the time. All I was thinking is, wow, I can't believe I'm opening for the And I was like, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I want to meet them in this. And then, so my manager at the time is like leading me up this theater. She's like, I want you to meet some people. And I had met a lot of people. So I just figured, oh, it must be the crew or something. And there's these guys in overalls that look like the Oak Ridge Boys. And they're like, oh, by the way, this is and I'm like, where? Because they didn't look like the promo picture. It had been a couple of years. And I'm like, you guys are the Whoa. And I was like, well, it's really nice to meet you guys, and they were all just like
oh, wow. Funny.
So that was a little bit disappointing. And then later on in the tour, every single night, one of them would ask to see me. So I would have to go there because every night he was really obnoxious. Like, just like, pull your pigtails kind of thing. Like,
right.
And also, now we're a little bit older. Just a little, not much.
Not much.
Than that. And, I was about 24, 25 when this happened. They were 28, 29, maybe. So when I think about that, I'm like, this whole thing was completely ridiculous. Like, why did I care about any of that? But to me, going through that, it was very upsetting. Like, you don't want to meet your fan, your idols. You don't want to meet your idols because you want them to be what you think they are. Like Pink Floyd is being in a car. Duran Duran is, riding somewhere amazing and getting some delicious coffee. Duran Duran is not, you have a wife. No. We respect your wives. And we want her to have you be faithful to them. You know what I'm saying? There's reality and there's fantasy. That's the whole thing right there. And I'm sorry it was so long-winded, but I wanted to give you like a real example of my own, what you asked for.
Absolutely. And that's what I was trying to get through to my assistant, actually. We were talking about the different images in the entertainment world. Some people see me as this very polite, very sweet, very this, because they see that on the podcast. But here at home, because I'm married to a trucker and I sponsor indie promotion wrestling and I do all this kind of stuff, I have the biggest potty mouth you've ever heard and everything. So we were talking about the different ways of like how you should handle yourself in public versus how you are at home, etc. And I wanted to bring that question in. So thank you for real honesty on that. I'm going to go ahead and pass to Bill for his final thoughts and questions before I get into your final questions. Bill, go right ahead.
One of the things that I would like to ask you as creators, and I think it applies to just about everybody in life, is how to balance your feedback in terms of compliments versus criticism. I happen to believe, my opinion, is in this society, we are drunk with positivity. You know, this whole idea that you accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative sounds great. But when you surround yourself with yes people and people who only are affirming what you are doing, oddly enough, it's the naysayers a lot of times that push the needle on you a little bit. But by the same token, you can't allow them into your soul. You can't allow them to bring you down. Everybody's got an opinion these days, and they're, you know, with social media and everything, boy, they're sure willing to give it. How do you guys balance that?
Well, I think that, I mean, in our process, we'll have feedback musically with each other. Like Patty will say, like, I think this sounds better, or I'd like this to be this way, or bringing up viewpoints that may not be, you know, all positive, because that's impossible. In terms of, you know, it's unrealistic to think it's all going to be like rainbows and butterflies. You know what I mean? So.
No, butterflies and moonbeams. And zebras.
And zebras and fairy tales.
No. We do correct each other as far as, you know, she may be singing a song or thinking a thought. And then I just get so excited about it. I'll be like, no, it has to be this. I'm not really correcting her. And we're lucky, really, just to have each other as sounding boards of honesty and discussing, you know, oh, do you think this is a better line? It's open communication. And there's plenty of no. Like she'll say, no, I like this. I want to do this, and that's it. Or I do not want to play the tuba or whatever. You know, that's actually one of our songs. But, you know, I mean, I think you have to trust the person who's giving you criticism. You have to think about, okay, why is this person criticizing me? Are they jealous, or are they really trying to help?
I mean, that's a good point, because I think feedback from someone that you admire or trust can get through it for something more positive is definitely, you know, that's a friend. That's someone that you can, you know, otherwise it's not a friend that can give you feedback, and you can't get through a situation like that, you know?
Yeah. Those are all very good points. Thank you very much, Christy.
All right, ladies. And I completely understand what you're saying, because there is different types of feedback. But there's criticism of, hey, Bill, you look good today in that shirt. Or there's, you know, I don't think that color looks good. But then there's also the criticism of online that tends to get to people.
Yeah.
I have seen a friend go through some criticism these days to where they were calling her very bad names because they did not agree to her opinions. And I was like, you guys, get over yourselves, you know, have your own opinion. And just, I followed Dolly Parton's advice, and her advice was, in this world, sometimes you just got to keep your damn mouth shut and keep your opinion to yourself. And that's kind of what I do. That's what I tend to do for myself. I keep my opinions to myself. So great points, ladies, and great question, Bill. Now, ladies, really quick, what is something that you would like our audience to know about each of you individually and about the music career? Like, if you had a new person trying to get into the music business, what would be your advice for them? And tell us a little something that you want the audience to know about yourself.
More cheese in the green room.
I like that.
Not so much beer necessarily, maybe a couple. Some water, maybe like a little bit of a mix. Cheese.
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 We love
I like
cheese. Okay, so anyway, sorry about that. I was
No, you're good. I was
I'm
going to say
hungry.
I was going to say throw some cookies or some tacos. I'd be
Cookies,
happy.
tacos, cheese, you know. But
Yeah.
seriously though, I mean, variety is the spice of life.
Absolutely.
I deliberately structured, or lack thereof, my life so that I never get bored, because I don't want to do the same thing every single day. And it's not like I really exactly had the luxury. I mean, what if I had, I mean, I did get a degree in art, and then I ended up getting the degree of music on the road, like almost immediately after college. And of course, some people said to me, "Oh, congratulations. How did you get a record deal?" Like that. Like, how did you get a record deal? Yeah. And I just told them flat out, well, I just had a lot of sex with Madonna. Yeah. What kind of question is that? But of course, I did not answer those people. Like Dolly, I used the mute button. And what do you think of all this?
Interesting. No, actually,
I use the mute button very well.
I think what do we want people to know about us? I mean, we're just naturally laughing and crack jokes, and there's a lot of humor, I think, between us just as friends, and then also in our music. For me, like I always seem to reach beyond what I'm able to do. I just keep doing that, whether it's in photography or in music. Like I'll or even in songwriting, like I'll write a song with chords that are harder than what I know, but there's something to that can be very fulfilling. It's almost like you're growing into something, or it allows for more learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are your guys' current projects right now? What are you guys currently working on besides the song about fourth grade?
Right.
Well, we just started recording our new EP, our first new song.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking about fourth grade. That sounds so good. Maybe we should
It
call
does.
it that. We'll give you credit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
About fourth grade.
Yeah, that kind of
About
stuff.
fourth grade.
That would be funny.
That could be the title. See, this is
About
the process.
fourth grade.
But and now of course I've forgotten the question. The question is,
what do you want the audience to know about yourself?
okay, I'm going to tie it into the internet thing. When I first started, remember MySpace? Remember? So I've been through that too.
Yes, same
and
here.
I watched the Tila Tequila and the, you know, Bret Michaels in Love and all that stuff. Okay, so what I really want is to just, freedom of speech does not mean freedom to just be a dick. I'm sorry to phrase it that way.
No, you're fine.
I don't know if that's fair game to say.
Yes.
That word. But I mean it with love, of course. And it's just like, maybe if somebody has a very strong opinion, sometimes I wonder if it's really their opinion. Or, you know, why do they think that? Is there somebody that's like threatening them to have that opinion, or do they really have that opinion? My opinion is, I want to hear your opinion. You know, let's talk. What do you like? What don't you like? Why? You know,
Absolutely.
How do you like your eggs? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. I just wish that, people realize more how much power what they say can have in someone's life in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And this whole positive yuck thing, I get that too. You don't want to always give everyone a trophy, because then it devalues it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of both. It's like, okay, respect, but then there's also, you have to earn it. And I mean, I took karate, and then when I was almost a black belt, I stopped because I was afraid I would break my hands and then I would lose my music.
Oh.
Now, there are people who do karate and do music and it doesn't affect it, but I was afraid. So I didn't. You didn't know that?
No.
She didn't know that.
Oh, wow. See, we all learn something new every day, Jill.
Exactly. So if you really get to talking to people, you might understand, like, how could you get to a advanced brown belt and not go to black? I mean, if that isn't the biggest metaphor of my life, I don't know what is, because I could have probably sucked up to the right person here and maybe like, I don't know, do a schmaltzy dance somewhere and win prizes. Like, but I like to just create a scenario where people feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
Even if they're uncomfortable, usually it's because they're like I just want to like feel like I can be myself as best as I can. Whatever that is, I could change, and I want to be able to.
I love those answers, ladies. Now, where can people go to find more information about you guys?
Okay, so we have a link tree. Let me see if I can get it. It's a link tree. Ruminators with Patty Rothberg. So if you look at Linktree, and Ruminators with Patty Rothberg in Linktree, and then we're also on Facebook, Ruminators Official.
Wonderful, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you so much for including us and asking us to be on your podcast.
It was great.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up by telling our audience, number one, to check you out. Go on to Facebook, check out the Ruminators. They have a wonderful page. These ladies are absolutely awesome. I have listened to some of their music, and when I'm in New York, which I should be in February for some business trips, I'm going to go out. I am going to hook up with these ladies and listen to their music because they deserve to have an awesome person in the audience, just like myself, just having to say. No, I'm kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And this is living proof right here. I have some wonderful musicians in front of me. And again, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you all again real soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.